Good morning. I wanted to come on here and talk about something that has been very relevant in my life and a lot of my clients' lives. And it's something that we hear a lot, that we are aware of, but we aren't really sure what to do about it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about managing burnout and overwhelm. And the reason why this came about is there's a few reasons. Number one, this is a really, really common thing that my clients struggle with. When you are an ambitious, driven, high achieving, goal driven, impact driven woman, you are so forward focused that sometimes that causes a disconnect with yourself and with your emotions. And so what happens is sometimes you're burnout before you even recognize that you're there. And that is why so many of my clients get stuck in these cycles of being excited and being ambitious and being driven and having these new goals and feeling like they have momentum and moving forward, and then crashing and burning, and then feeling like nothing's working, or feeling like it's just everything feels really heavy and feels really hard. And, I see this happen so often. And this is why I continue to repeat time and time again that pouring into yourself and taking care of yourself is the key for really building success. And so when we're talking about success, it's important for us to redefine what that success not just looks like, but also feels like. And that's something that I do with a lot of clients as well. So today I want to talk about actually managing burnout and managing overwhelm, because if we're being really transparent and really honest, when you are running a business, and most of my clients are not just running businesses, they're also managing households, they have multiple businesses, they have partners. There is very few people in my world that their business is their sole thing that they're doing. We all have a lot of responsibilities and circumstances. And so it's important for us to figure out how we can hold and manage our responsibilities and the truth that is our lives. There is this picture that is painted of entrepreneurship and business ownership, that it provides so much freedom and so much beauty and all of the great things that it does provide if you let it. But there is the shadow side of that is the uncertainty and the doubt and the worry and the burnout and the overwhelm and the feeling like you're doing all the things and nothing's really working. And so if you're in this place, if you're in the place of overwhelm and burnout, just understand that I know what it feels like. And the reason why this is so near and dear to my heart is because I have been the person who has been there so many times. I understand this cycle. I understand how to break this cycle. I understand the patterns. I understand being so lit up and focused and driven by what your work is that you bury yourself saying yes to all the things, because I have done it. Truthfully, the last year has been extremely challenging for me. For those of you that aren't aware, Eric and I had always worked from home together. And when he went into cookies and cream, if you're not aware, was our business before. And it created a new dynamic in our relationship, because we basically changed being together, working from home, 50-50 on like responsibilities and parenting, to him now having a job when he opened the retail store of being out of the house. And what that created for me was more responsibility with the children. They are my children. They are my responsibility. And that's where a lot of my clients and I align, is that sometimes we are so stubborn when it comes to taking care of all of our things that we are marking as our responsibilities, that we struggle with asking for help, and we think that we can do more than we really have capacity for. And, I say we because I am the same. My clients are past versions of me, and that past might be just a few months ago. So I deeply understand this cycle. So with Eric being removed from the household, a lot of the pressure of being, more than it was 50-50 with my kids, along with the financial pressure of essentially being the sole provider for our family. Because if any of you have had a business before, or, for all of you business owners, in the beginning, you're not bringing in a lot of income. I'm extremely grateful for my business being able to provide for all of us. But the reality of that is that, the financial pressure mixed with the responsibility of, doing more, it was more on my plate, and it was more in my energy, and it was more that I was responsible for. And so with that, I really had to get clear on what I was going to do in order to hold all of this. And I think one of the scariest things that I had to do in this last year was, while I continued to, have my focus on my clients and providing the best client experience possible, I also had to be realistic about what my capacity was. And that as much as I wanted to continue to, quantum leap into this huge, this huge impact and impact as many people as possible, I didn't necessarily have the capacity for that. And that was very, 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 very hard for me to admit to myself. Because in the last year, I had basically a partner that started working outside of the house. So I had the financial pressure and the added responsibility of my 2 children. I added a 3rd child to my family, and 2 of our dogs passed away. It was a lot. It was really, really hard. And sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for that. And so if you're burnt out and you're overwhelmed, and you find yourself kind of coming back to the cycle to where you're okay, and then you're buried, and then you're okay, and then you're buried. There is something at the beginning before you are buried, when you're in the stage of when things do feel a little easier, when things do feel lighter, that you're not actually addressing the reasons why you're getting buried. Meaning that for so many of us, overwhelm and burnout exists simply because we are saying yes to too many things. And sometimes that's circumstantial. There was so much that got put on my plate in the last year that I, was subconsciously saying yes to because of a change in circumstance, that I didn't realize that I was overwhelmed. I didn't realize that I was headed towards burning out. And so making that choice that I did to say, let me just manage what I have. Let me be here and provide the clients that I have with the best client experience, and whoever comes in during this time, that's okay. And just knowing that I had built a business that I could sustain. And truthfully, there's so much glamour around growth being external change. And the reality is that my growth in the last year was not necessarily hitting higher income months, not necessarily having huge launches. My growth in the last year was being able to actually manage the capacity of being the sole financial provider, was being able to have a business that could provide for me, my family, my house, everything that we need, being able to actively be in deep relationship with the clients that I had in my world and not stretch myself to the point of exhaustion, being able to continue to prioritize my health mentally and physically. There's so much, that we have to pay attention to in that, what we're celebrating and what success is and what growth is. Because for me, it's very easy to think about, okay, well, growing means, and this is all of us, it's linear, it's up and it's up and it's up. But to me, it was almost like my business maintaining and sustaining was growth for me. To be able to witness like that almost like flat line of let's just hold. Let's just hold this because you're holding a lot of other things. And so I'm sharing the story with you today, and I'm telling you transparently that like I've been in this place because you get to choose whether you want to be overwhelmed or burnout. In the moments where you are in that cycle of going back and forth, and you, right before you hit overwhelm and right before you hit burnout, there is a period where you think you're okay. And in those moments where you think that you are okay is the time to peel back and find, are you really okay? And then since you're okay, instead of saying, I'm okay now, I can take on more, being okay with just sitting in being okay. And this is why in my coaching and in the programs that I lead, I always say that it's so deeply important for us to learn that contentment and more can live in the same room. You don't have to sacrifice your ambition, your goals, the things that you want in order to have peace. You shouldn't have to. You can have both, but both might look different. And that's the truth. It might be a slower pace. That's very, very well worth it if you are okay. Because if you are sacrificing yourself, your mental health, your well-being, so you can work longer days or longer nights, or you can, have more clients, so you can sign more people, so you can reach that income goal, whatever it is, if you are sacrificing yourself in the process of that, when you get there, it's not going to feel good because you're just going to be numb. You're going to be disassociating. You're going to be disconnected from your body. And the truth is that when you actually allow yourself for a slower pace, when you allow for peace and contentment and ease to also be met with, yes, I'm working towards that goal. Yes, I have the desire for a bigger impact, a bigger business. Those things you have to learn to find your gray area and how those things work together. It's not one or the other. When you choose only to believe that once I achieve X goal, then I can rest. Once I hit this number, once I get this many clients, once this thing happens, then I can rest. Then you're continuing to perpetuate the cycle. And that is why you hit a goal and you're like, okay, I can rest. You give yourself that permission when really it's a crash and burn. And then you're like, okay, now I'm okay. So now I can take on more. And then you take on more and you put yourself back into the cycle. Versus what if we just take that big peak and that rest and we meet in the middle? To where sustainability and longevity and these things that are of utmost importance for your continued success are prioritized. You manage your burnout and you manage your overwhelm by not just always being in firefighting mode of saying, I'm burnout, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to shut down, because you can't get anywhere then. You manage your burnout and your overwhelm before you get there. It's preventative care. As a business owner, you have to have preventative measures in place, meaning that you need to have a schedule that allows for breaks. You need to have other things outside your business and your work that fulfill you. It's like all of the stuff that we know intellectually, filling your cup first, it's really the stuff that you have to do. And so that's what the conversation that I'm inviting you into today is thinking about. If you are burnout, do you notice this cycle? Do you notice that you're pushing and then you're like, okay, now I can rest. I'm pushing and now I can rest. I wholeheartedly believe that because it's just the human experience, that there will be times where you might work a little bit more. But don't let those times be an excuse for burnout, for overwhelm. There is still balance in those moments. And so keeping this at the forefront of your mind, I want you to better manage burnout and overwhelm. I want you to have a visual a visual idea of what your actual balance looks like. What does that look like to you? Because what happens is if you create this balance, this idea of balance for yourself, and you get really clear on what that looks like for you, you're creating boundaries that you then have to hold for yourself, of course, but at least it gives you some idea. So when you're playing in extremes, when you've kind of had that crash and burn and you're like, I'm done, my hands are in the air, just whatever, Jesus, take the wheel. And then you've also been in that like hustle. Oh yeah, I'm accomplishing all the things. I'm crossing all the things off my to-do list. I'm checking all the boxes. The things are coming in. Everything's happening. There are pieces from each of those extremes that's where you will find your middle ground. So this would look like if you are like, okay, I'm going to do 20 things on my to-do list. This is going to be the day. I'm just going to cross it all out and I'm going to do it. And then you crash and burn at the end of the day. It's like, okay, what about if we split that into 2 days or 3 days? All the same things are accomplished. You still get to be ambitious, goal-driven, results-driven, but not at the expense of yourself, not at the expense of your health, not at the expense of your sleep, not at the expense of you being present with the people that you love. That's the key here. Can we extend our timeline so that we are living right now and we are making choices right now that feel good while also knowing that we are actively working towards our goals? That is the key. That is how you will manage burnout and overwhelm. That is how you will put preventative measures in place so that you don't continue to go back there. That is how you break the cycle. Because when you are burnout and you are overwhelmed, I've been there. You're not present. You don't feel good about what you're doing because you're not taking great care of yourself. You're not being present with the people that are important for you to be present with. And so when we have the opportunity to say, hey, I'm in control of my schedule. I'm in control of what I say yes to. That reminder is important. You can say yes, but not right now. You can say, I'll check my schedule if you really want to say no. You are allowed to think about your capacity first. And that's why in order to manage burnout and overwhelm, you need to have a clear picture of what is my capacity. For me, I've built my entire business around my family and my kids. I want to be there for bedtime. I want to be there and I want to have lunch with my family. I want to be able to raise my babies, and be with them at home before they go to school. Those things are important to me. And I've done that by saying, okay, well, if I'm going to do those things, then what needs to be poured into me? How can I prioritize my own well-being? And then what structure do I need to have in place? So like for me, Mondays and Fridays are kind of like work optional, kind of behind the scenes work. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are like my heavier work days to where I'm seeing clients on those days, to where I'll take appointments those days. And even those days, I've created a schedule to where I actively only have about 20 hours of work per week because that is my capacity in which I can still do everything that I want to do. But if you are not aware of your capacity, you will continue to put yourself in this pattern. You will continue to burn yourself out and you will continue to crash and burn. And then you are actually, even though you have this idea that you are pushing and pushing and pushing, and then you'll get there and then you'll rest. And so you think that it will be quicker. You think that I'll get there and it will be quicker because I'm just going to push and then I'll rest when I get there. It actually takes you longer because there are so many times during that period that you will crash and burn from pushing too hard that you will set yourself back. It's like training and then you get an injury because you didn't listen to your body. It's the same thing here. And then you have a setback that you have to recover from before you can move forward. So let's pay attention to our cadence. Let's pay attention to our capacity. And that will allow you to better manage your burnout and your overwhelm. On the topic of burnout and overwhelm, one of the things that I really wanted to create was this idea for my ambitious, goal, results-driven women. I wanted a place in which they could come together and we could say, we're working on these goals. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the plan. Here's the action steps. I wanted a place for that and for support and for people who understand what it's like to be this very ambitious, driven woman. I wanted a place for those ambitious women to come together and be able to support each other as they're actively working towards goals and be able to know the steps that they're taking to get towards those goals, while also being very realistic with the capacity that they have, being able to no longer sacrifice themselves, their health, their mental, their physical well-being to reach said goals. I wanted to create a place to where it was the physical representation of what I've spoken about time and time again, of having it all, having both, having everything that you want. And then I created that place, and that's why I created Power United, because it's for the woman, for the business owner who is recognizing I'm at capacity, and I see that, and I know that, whether it's capacity in the schedule or capacity energetically or emotionally, sometimes both. And they're recognizing this, but they're like, I can't quit because this is my business. I have to keep going. It's not an option. It was never an option for me in the last year with all the stuff that got added to my plate. It was never an option for me to just quit. I didn't have that option as the financial provider for my family. And so most of the women that I work with don't have that option either. This is your business. This is your livelihood. And so how do you continue to grow and you're so committed and devoted to your business and continued growth of the business? But how do you manage that continued growth, the scaling to the next level, the expansion, when you are already at capacity energetically or emotionally? The way that you do that is it's going to be a unique formula for you that has to be developed, and you need a lot of support. And that's what Power United is. That is why it's a hybrid place for women. That is why it's private coaching with me for the depth, for the exact getting you what you need in this moment for your business and for yourself, while also padding that with women who understand where you are, unique perspectives, offering insights, support, cheerleading, people who believe in you. That combination is unmatched. To have the best of both worlds. To have the depth of private coaching and the support of, if you've ever been in any sort of group, whether you went to, some sort of week summit, whether you've been in a Zoom room with a bunch of people, there is an energy that is felt when you are in a room with people that have similar thinking, similar goals, similar lives to you. There is attachment. There is a beautiful blend of, hey, this person understands me and I can be seen and I can be heard in this space. And that is where real change takes place. When you're finally heard, when you're finally understood, and you meet that with, I support you in your goals. Here's how we're going to build both. This space that I've created in Power United is unmatched, truly. To be able to have a clear plan of action on how you are going to build the expansion while also not burning yourself out, while also not being overwhelmed. How you can build to the higher revenue and the more clients and everything that you want, and everything that's on the vision board, while also actively enjoying the life that you're in right now, because it's supposed to be both. And so I said, where can I build both? How can I have a structure in place that is both? And that is why I came up with this conversation. That is why I came up with this space, this experience. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I am a business owner and I'm deeply committed and devoted to growth. I'm unwilling to step back and say, I don't want to grow anymore. But I also really don't want to push, in that I really don't want to drive my central nervous system into the ground. I really would like to be able to have some time for myself. I really would like to be able to be more present with my partner or my children. I really want both. I really want the bigger business and the better life. That is what's created inside Power United. It's not one or the other. And so many masterminds are focused on, let's get you to, 50K months, 100K months, whatever the revenue goal is. Beautiful. But how are you going to feel when you get there? Are you going to feel good? Are you going to, on the journey to that goal, are you going to be actively enjoying your life? Are you going to be filling your cup? Because that's truly what matters. And that's why I said, okay, well, what if it's both? What if it's working towards that higher revenue, more clients, whatever it is for your business, expansion, adding something to your offers, stepping into consulting, whatever it is? What if it's adding that, opening up that revenue stream, opening up the possibility for generating more income? But what if we do it differently? What if we do this in a way that hasn't been done before? What if we do this with peace, contentment, presence, joy? What if there's room for fun and play? What if the goal can still exist without running you into the ground? And that's what I'm doing. I'm living it. And it took me a little bit to realize this, in that, this is your thing, Kelsey. You've been a coach for 11 years and never have you stopped taking care of yourself as your business has continued to grow and as you've added 3 children to your family. You've never put yourself in the back seat, and yet you've continued to hit your goals. And so it's my duty to teach other women this. And I'm so honored for the women that have already joined. And I'm so excited because we're already getting started inside of here. And I would love for you, if you're listening and you're like, I don't want to be in this burnout overwhelm cycle anymore, but I feel like I can't get out of it because I run a business, and I've accepted it as this is part of running a business. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a different way, and I can show you how. And this is just part of the work that we're doing inside Power United. I hope that today has been helpful for you. I hope it's given you something to think about. I hope it's helped you with thinking about how you can better manage burnout and overwhelm, how you can put preventative things in place so that you don't keep ending up there. And then I hope that if you are a business owner watching this, if you are a woman in leadership and you are ready to actually do things differently, to actually be committed to your goals still, but also not sacrifice yourself in the process, to make life happier, lighter, more joyful, more peaceful, and have a lot more presence while simultaneously reaching your goals, please DM me and we can have a conversation about if Power United is the space for you. Or you can also click the link in my bio and head over to the page and apply there. So there are a few spaces left in this. I would love to have a conversation and just see if this is the right space for you. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. And just understand that I promise you, if you are burnout, if you are overwhelmed, that there is a way out of this that doesn't mean stopping growing your business. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you again for being here.